So remember, the electron carries a negative charge. The protons carry a positive charge. Acids, if they start to steal electrons, you're going to have more of a positive charge. And that's more of an acidic environment. And Dr. Sebi says that's where everything grows, like illness grows.
Two opposite charges attract. So two negatives.
Two negatives repel and two positives repel. Same charge repels. So whether it's two negatives or two positives. Now this is interesting because, again, we're not going to really go deep into the nutrition until week 4. But just going by that, yeah? So we breathe out oxygen. We breathe out carbon dioxide and we breathe in oxygen. What do the plants do? They do the opposite. So they breathe out oxygen and breathe in carbon dioxide. So what should we be eating? We should be eating the plants because the plants are giving our cells exactly what they need, yeah? Think about this now. If you eat an animal, what does the animal breathe out? Carbon dioxide. The animal, we're animals. So if you're eating an animal, you're literally eating the same kind. In other words, something that's acidic. You're acidic, that's acidic. You eat it, that's same charge. That's the same charge.
Is that the same for fish?
I'm not sure. Fish, yeah, I'm not sure what charge they have. Well, Dr. Sebi says it just should be plants, just plants. So fish is not a plant, so just stick to plants, yeah? All right, so we've gone over plants a lot. That's the P in my powers. So remember, if you're low on energy, you need to increase your powers. P stands for plants. We've gone over that a lot. Now you understand what alkaline diet is, alkaline plants, electric plants, you understand that. What's O? Oxygen. So how can we get more oxygen inside of our body? Well, we've already said being outside with the plants so you can breathe in more oxygen. Someone put meditation there. That's breathing in more oxygen. It's like you guys know this stuff already. Might as well go home. Like you don't know it. Yeah? So oxygen, you're breathing in more oxygen being outside. You're breathing in more oxygen by doing meditation. So that's why a lot of people do yoga and meditation and that sort of stuff to get in more oxygen. But what's the easiest, most powerful way to get more oxygen inside of your body? Exercise. Exercise. When you exercise, you force your body to breathe in more oxygen. Yeah? When you exercise, you force your body to breathe in more oxygen. That's the reason why, like, even if you do an exercise and the body requires more energy than the body requires more oxygen, but you still do the activity, you have to repay the body back that oxygen. For example, if you was to run for the bus, let's say you run for the bus and you spend, 30 seconds running for the bus. When you catch the bus, how do you feel? They call that an oxygen debt. You're having to repay the body the oxygen that it had to use up, yeah? That's called an oxygen debt. The same way you have a debt with the bank and you have to repay the bank, you have to repay your body. Exercise is the most powerful way to get more oxygen inside of your body. You run for that bus and see if you can breathe the same way. You run for the bus, you catch the bus, it's deep breathing you're dealing with. It's like, all of that is breathing in more oxygen. More oxygen. So exercise is the most powerful way to breathe in more oxygen. Yeah? And I told you at the start, I come from a fitness background and I knew this from early. That's the reason why I created my own fitness magazine. So this is my fitness magazine, came out in 2016. And another thing about fitness magazines, when you look at the front covers, you don't see us on the front cover. So I literally got all of my friends and put them in my own fitness magazine and created my fitness magazine, yeah? Oh, and I've got some copies here for free. I'll give them out at the end if you want. So this is my fitness magazine, tells you all you need to know with regards to exercise, yeah? And it's all black people. Black fitness magazine, yeah. All right, thank you. All right, so that is the O, oxygen, because we now know that obviously being outside and we need oxygen in our cells. But here's a question. Why no glucose? So we know that the body needs oxygen, but why haven't I mentioned glucose? Because if you go back to cellular respiration, remember, before the break, your cells need two things to create energy, glucose and oxygen. But I've just mentioned oxygen. Why haven't I mentioned glucose? Why? Because we store it, yeah. We are already full of glucose. That's what glucose is, it's sugar. We live in an environment that promotes sugar to us. Like literally, if I was to buy water, it would probably have sugar in it. Sugar's in everything. So if you're low on energy, it's obviously not because of sugar, because there's sugar all around. There's sugar, everything's made of sugar. That paper's probably made of sugar, yeah? So obviously, if we're low on energy, it can't be because of glucose. And if this is the equation for energy, it must be because of the other thing, oxygen. So we're low on oxygen. So every time we're low and we're at work and we're thinking, I'm low, you need oxygen. You don't need a Lucozade or something like that, yeah? We're full of glucose as well. Now, does anyone know who this guy is? This is why we need to start. Otto Warburg, exactly, yes. Otto Warburg. In 1931, he won the Nobel Prize. Why? Because he found out the root cause of cancer. What did he say? He said he discovered the root cause of cancer in 1923. Think about how long ago that was, 1923. He found the root cause of cancer and he received the Nobel Prize for doing so in 1931. Warburg was the director of the Kaiser Institute for Cell Physiology at Berlin. He investigated the metabolism of tumors and the respiration of cells, particularly cancer cells. Below are some of his quotes. He said that cancerous tissues are acidic, whereas healthy tissues are alkaline. Yeah? And then he goes on to say, lack of oxygen and acidosis are two sides of the same coin. Where you have one, you have the other. So he said that in his work, the metabolism of tumors, he demonstrated that all forms of cancer are characterized by two basic conditions: acidosis, too much acids, and hypoxia, lack of oxygen. So it's the lack of oxygen that creates cancer. The lack of oxygen. And he found this out in 1923. He goes on to say, all normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen, a rule without exception. All normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen. So remember, all your cells need what? Two things, oxygen and glucose. All your cells need oxygen and glucose, but he says that cancer cells can live without oxygen. So if cancer cells are living without oxygen, what are cancer cells living on? Glucose. So that means if you have anyone who's suffering from any type of cancer, they need to avoid glucose, because that's what the cancer cell thrives off of. That means any processed food, because the cancer cell thrives off of this guy. That's it. Your cells need glucose and oxygen, but according to that scientist, the cancer cell can survive without oxygen. If it can survive without oxygen, it's surviving on glucose. Your cells can't survive without oxygen, but a cancer cell can, yeah? It says here, deprive a cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours and it may become cancerous. So that shows you how important oxygen is. That's the O. And we're going to talk about omegas next week. All right, W stands for water. Now, we all understand water. Now, water, if you go to your notes on page 1, I think water's week 3, yeah? So again, water's a deep one. People are like, what water should we be drinking? Distilled water, alkaline water, I've got a machine and it electrifies water and all that sort of stuff. Okay, we're going to go into water in week 3, yeah? So water, we'll talk about that in week 3, but we all understand the importance of water. And even going by my analogy, if the fish is sick, what should you do? Change the water. Well, think about the fish as your cells. If this is your cells and this is your body, your cells are only going to be as healthy as the water they're bathing in. Because remember, the human body is over 70% water. So if we're thinking about changing any environment, we need to think about our internal environment first. Thinking about this environment, we need to think about our internal environment before we even look at the obesogenic environment. Yeah? How do we change this internal water? Again, we're going to go over that in week 3. Now, I've put here, the more you live in an abnormal environment, the more you'll think it's normal. Because we've been living in this abnormal environment so long, drinking water is abnormal. Drinking water is abnormal, yeah? Listen to this.
They told me I heard you don't drink. I don't drink.
Well, we have that in common.
Yeah, I don't drink. I just stopped drinking. I used to drink, and I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, whenever you tell people you don't drink,
Yeah.
they always want an explanation. They always want to know what happened. Was it a problem? Was you beating your kids? Did you ruin marriages? Did you kill somebody in the vehicle? Like, what happened? We can't believe you don't drink poison. Explain to us why you don't drink poison. I don't get the shock. Like, if I was to tell somebody, man, I don't never drink water, they'd be like, oh, okay.
You tell someone you don't drink alcohol, they'll be like, why don't you drink alcohol? Why don't you drink alcohol? But you tell someone you don't drink water, okay. It's the same with plants. Like, people ask me, what do you eat? And I'll be like, plant-based diet. That's it. If I was to ask someone, what do they eat? They'd probably say processed food or whatever, but they wouldn't be like, oh, why don't you eat plants? Like, plants should be the norm. Plants should be the norm, but we eat everything but plants, and that is abnormal. But because we've been living in this obesogenic environment for so long, we're starting to think that the abnormal is normal, yeah? So plants, oxygen, water. So, as long as you eat a plant-based diet and drink lots of water, you'll be optimally healthy, right? No. We're missing something. Exercise. Exercise. Yes, exercise. Because again, I said at the beginning that I'm from a fitness background, and when I was studying fitness, I started to realize that a lot of people that were into fitness weren't into health. So I'd speak to guys that go gym, and I'd be like, okay, what do you eat? And he's like, I'm leaving here to go Nando's and eat something. Or I'm going to the chicken shop. Like, they had no idea about what health was, but they were into fitness. Then I speak to people who are into fitness. I'm like, what exercise do you do? When do you exercise? No, I drink moringa tea and, I meditate and all that. No, but what about exercise? So the people who are into fitness are not into health. People who are into health are not into fitness. Didn't make sense to me, yeah? So I try to combine the two. So exercise is extremely important for your health because health equals energy and energy equals movement. So you need to move, and preferably outside. Now you know why, for oxygen, sunlight and that sort of stuff. And here's a tough one, preferably with your shoes and socks off, so your feet are touching the ground. Why is that important? Because when it comes to grounding, exactly, electrons, you get electrons from the ground. So these electrons that your body relies on, that we can get from food, you can get them from the ground as well. They come up through the ground. Because remember, the sun energizes everything. The sun energizes the fruits, the vegetables, the sun energizes us, the sun energizes the soil. The sun energizes, so when you're out in a park and all that sort of stuff, the sun's energizing the soil, the electrons start to come up, and your feet can absorb those electrons through your feet. That's the reason why I don't know if any of you have taken essential oils or known someone who's expert in essential oils. They always tell you to put the essential oils on the soles of your foot because you're absorbing the electrons through your feet, yeah? So grounding, a lot of us are familiar with grounding. What we're not familiar with is how powerful it is and where to ground. So grounding on the grass, that's okay, yeah? Soil, you want soil, yeah? So if you want to ground on something, you want the soil. But you know what's the most powerful place to ground? Sand. That's the reason why when you go on holiday and you're walking on that sand, that beach, you feel charged up because you're getting energy coming through the sand. You're getting the electrons coming through the sand through your feet. Sand is the best place for grounding, yeah? So exercise, extremely important for our health, yeah? And I like to study the universe, and I feel like sometimes the universe gives us laws. They're unwritten laws. And I think this is an unwritten law of the universe. It's called the law of use. Now, instead of me telling you, you tell me, what does the law of use state? Use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. And that is every muscle in your body, yeah? Now remember, we forget organs are muscles as well. So if you're not using your organs properly, if you're not moving your organs, then you will lose them. They'll lose the energy. Free radicals will start to steal electrons out of them, and they will die because they don't have the electricity, the life. So everything needs to move. Everything. on a daily basis. Like literally when people say, oh, I don't exercise, I'm like, don't think about exercise as like gym and that sort of stuff. Like literally think about your body. Everything should move on a daily basis. Like think about your wrist. Your wrist does this, this, and that, and that. You should do that every day. Because if you don't, at some point, it will get stiff. And then when you try to do that movement, pain, yeah? Your elbow does this. You should do that on a daily basis, yeah? Think about what all your parts of your body do. There's a seat. But we're living in an environment where we're always sitting. We're always in this position, yeah? So everything's flexed and all that sort of stuff, yeah? So we're not moving. So everything needs to move or we'll get in trouble with regards to health, because health equals energy, energy equals movement. So ladies, everything needs to move, including these. These need to move as well, yeah? So they need to move. So when you're wearing bras that strap them down and they don't move, understand that's not healthy, because health equals energy and energy equals movement. When them things are not moving about, think about it. Electrons is the flow. Electricity is the flow of electrons. If those electrons can't flow and they stop moving, they start to coagulate, yeah? And when they coagulate, all of a sudden you start to feel a lump, because that's energy that wanted to move, but now it's coagulated because it's not moving, and now you've got a lump somewhere. So that's for women. Guys, that's your testicles, yeah? If it's not moving, all of a sudden, wow, hold on a second, can feel something there. And then that can turn into cancer or tumor or whatever, because things need to move. Everything needs to move. Cyst, yeah. It's just built up. That's energy that should have been moving and it's coagulated and now it's just building up. So we need to get rid of this unhealthy situation that we're in. I don't know if you saw what I did there. So unhealthy situation. We're all sitting for way too long, and it's got to the point where sitting has like become the new smoking. Most of our pains are from sitting too long. So think about the common pain areas of the body: lower back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, wrist pain, just from sitting. Like when I was growing up, I was so active. Me and my cousins, me and my friends, we were so active. If we were in pain, it's because we did something. Like, twisted my ankle or bust up my knee. Like I'll come home in pain and my mom would be like, what did you do? I was riding the bike and I tried to do a flip and I landed on my head, and I'm coming home in pain because I did something. These days, everyone's in pain and it's like, like, you got a lower back issue. Yeah, I got a lower back problem. What happened? Nothing. I just tried to pick up the pencil from the floor and then my back went. Like, we're not even doing anything. Like, and we've got all of these issues. We're not playing sport. We're not being physically active, but yet we got all this pain. And then it becomes a cycle because not moving creates all of this pain, yeah? Then what happens when you do move? Pain. So what do you go back to doing? Sitting, yeah? So not moving created the pain. Everything's stiff. And then you go to move. No, I'm not going to move. And then you just go back to just sitting and not moving, yeah? So exercise, movement. Health equals energy, energy equals movement. And then the R, rest. Rest or recover. If you're exercising, you might need to recover from it. Or repair. There's things in your body that are damaged. When do you get a chance to repair? It should be during sleep. That's when your body goes into the repairing mode, yeah, during sleep. So when is your body repairing things, yeah? Or replenish. Your hormones are getting used throughout the day. They should be getting replenished during rest, during sleep. If you're not getting the right amount of sleep, when are you replenishing your hormones? When are you replenishing your cells and your tissues and your organs? Or recharge. Recharge. The R can stand for recharge. The same way, if your battery on your phone is low, you want to find a charger to recharge it. Well, you're the same. Sometimes you need, or a lot of times you need recharging. And going back to the phone, reset. Sometimes when your phone's acting up, your phone's on a madness, what do they tell you? Or your computer, what do they tell you at work to do? Reset it. Turn it off and turn it back on again. It'll be fine. Yeah? This is when you should be turning off to then turn back on again. Yeah? And what's interesting about your smartphone is when you download a new app, what do they say? For you to use it, you need to reset it. You can't just download it and start using it. They always say you need to turn it off and turn it back on again. So just keep that in mind. When you're downloading information, you might have to, especially after a class like this, a lot of information, you have to hold a meds and rest and download all of that information in order to use it, yeah? So it's very important for us to go through this, rest, recovery, repair, reset. And the reason why it's so important is because our circadian rhythm is dependent on it. Now, this is your circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is like your internal biological clock. It's how your body knows what time it is without looking at a phone, a clock, or a watch. Now, your hormones are based on this circadian rhythm. Your hormones get released at certain times of the day based on this circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is based on you being in alignment with the universe or the sun. So when the sun is up, certain hormones get released to tell you what to do. When the sun goes down, certain hormones get released, yeah? So your circadian rhythm, how you operate throughout the day, how your body knows what time it is throughout the day, is based on this. And there's two very important hormones. One called serotonin that gets released during the day, and one called melatonin that gets released during the night. Generally speaking, melatonin should be getting released roughly around 9:30. And melatonin helps you to sleep. I always tell the children, melatonin makes you feel mellow. That's the way they remember it. Melatonin makes you feel mellow. 9:30, roughly around those times, is when melatonin should be getting released to help you sleep. But what are we doing around those times? Still up, yeah? And we're getting this artificial blue light from our laptops, our phones, and that sort of stuff. Now, what you need to understand about blue light is one of the most high frequency lights out of all the radiation. So we're getting the highest frequency light through our laptops and our phones, yeah? And it's such a high frequency that if you was to be on your phone at night, that high frequency light that you're getting from your phone makes your body think that it's 12 noon. Makes your body think that it's 12 noon. And if your body thinks it's 12 noon, it's going to release 12 noon hormones. And that's going to bring you out of balance with your circadian rhythm, yeah? So it's very important for us to understand this, because this is what's affecting our hormones as well. This is what's affecting our circadian rhythm, this blue light, yeah? And again, this is artificial light. This is not real light. Like, we get blue light from the sun, but that is real light. Getting blue light from these things can damage your eyes. It can damage your circadian rhythm. It can damage neurotransmitters, dopamine, and all that sort of stuff, yeah? All right, now, we've gone through power. We went through P, which is plants, O, which is oxygen, W, which is E, and R. What's the S stand for? No, that's under rest. Sunlight. And why do we need sunlight? For our melanin. For our melanin. And by the way, this is the same person, yeah? So that just shows you how important the sun is. That's the same person, yeah? So we need sunlight for our melanin. It tops up our melanin. That's how important sunlight is, yeah? And speaking of melanin, let's talk about it. So, in your notes, we're on to the melanin part. So that's on page 5, end of page 5. Now, instead of me telling you what melanin is, I've put in your notes 4 different scientists who have done the research with regards to melanin. They've broken down melanin. They've either written books or they've written papers, scientific papers. So they know about melanin, yeah? So the first scientist, his name is Dr. Timothy Moore. He wrote a book called The Science and Myth of Melanin, Dispelling the Myths. What did he say melanin is? Melanin is the biology of blackness. He said in humans, melanin is the primary determinant of skin and hair color. He says melanin has genetic, biochemical, and functional links to the immune system. It neutralizes oxidants. So that makes melanin an antioxidant and an antimicrobial. Found in almost every organ of the body and is necessary for the brain and nerves to operate, the eyes to see, and the cells to reproduce. He said it's also found in the stria vascularis of the inner ear. So you've got melanin in your ear. That's what helps you to hear. It helps to repair DNA in body cells. And then he says there are many types of melanin. Cosmomelanin. Cosmomelanin? You mean that stuff that we see in the sky is not darkness, it's actually melanin. And then he says there's eumelanin, pheomelanin, and neuromelanin, to name a few. So that's one scientist. But we can't just go by one scientist, because remember, science is logic backed up by evidence. We need as many scientists as possible, as much evidence as possible. Here's another scientist. His name is Dr. Carl Marriott. Yeah? So this is in your notes. Dr. Carl Marriott. What did he say melanin is? He called melanin the chemical key to life. And this is powerful because this is coming from a European, yeah? And there's a YouTube video of this guy explaining melanin for 15 minutes online. I suggest that at some point you watch it. So just type in his name and you see him talking about melanin for 15 minutes. Very powerful video. But he called melanin the chemical key to life. He says that melanin has a broad absorption spectrum. He says it absorbs thousands of times more electromagnetic radiation, which is photons. Anytime you see the word photons, that's to do with light, than chlorophyll. Now let's just examine that, yeah? Absorbs thousands of times more electromagnetic radiation than chlorophyll. Who was taught chlorophyll at school again? Everyone. Who was taught melanin at school? No one. But yet melanin is thousands of times more powerful than chlorophyll. So why are they not teaching us melanin in school? He says it exists in many tissues beside the skin. He says it's present in the developing fetus. He even says if it's not present, that's when you lose the baby. That's how important melanin is to life. And he says it's thought to be a master molecule for steering biological processes in the body, and the health effects are still being researched. So he said that it absorbs thousands of times more electromagnetic radiation. You now know that the electromagnetic radiation is to do with this, the electromagnetic spectrum, yeah? So this is all radiation. If you look at the wavelength there, lower frequency is down here and the higher frequency is up there. You can see by the frequency how frequently it goes up and down. It's getting more frequent. So these are high frequencies, these are the lower frequencies. So radio waves is a low frequency, infrared is a low frequency, then we're getting higher now. Ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, yeah? And then this tiny portion, there's a tiny, tiny portion here called the visible spectrum, and that's the colors that we see with our naked eye. And back in school, they called it Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Those are the colors that we see, or a combination of them. Why is that so important? Because look at what we can see and look at what we can't see. There's much more that we can't see compared to what we can see, yeah? Out there in the universe. Ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, infrared, microwaves, radio waves. And these are all affecting us, yeah? But when it comes on to what we can see, that's the colors that we see. Now, to understand that, you need to understand how we see colors. So if we was looking at an indigo surface, a purple surface, and this is in nature, this is the universe we're talking about, in nature. If you're looking at indigo surface, the reason why it looks indigo is because there's white light or light from the sun shining down on that surface. Now, the light from the sun is shining down all of the radiation, all of the light, but the surface is absorbing all of the frequencies except for purple. That's getting reflected back to your eye. So if you're looking at a purple surface, the reason why it's purple is because that's the color that's not being absorbed by the surface. Does that make sense? So all of the colors, all of the other colors are being absorbed, the purple is being reflected, yeah? So that means that if you look at a green leaf, the reason why it's green is because that's the color that's being reflected back to your eye. That's the color that's not being absorbed. All of the other colors are being absorbed, which is sometimes hard for people to understand. When you're looking at something that is green, it's not actually green, it's all the other colors. It's the green that's being reflected back to your eye. All the other colors are being absorbed by it. Now remember, chlorophyll can absorb parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. Chlorophyll can absorb parts of it. But the scientists said that melanin can absorb thousands of times more. So guess what melanin can absorb? The whole spectrum. Melanin can absorb the whole spectrum. Now, is that a good or bad thing? Could be both. Could be both. Yeah, so it's good because you're absorbing, you could be absorbing like ultraviolet and infrared rays that are good for your body, especially from the sun, that other people are not absorbing. But how can it be a bad thing? Too much. You could be absorbing X-rays and gamma rays that other people can't absorb. So for example, when we go to the hospital and you have an X-ray, where's the doctor? The doctor's not even in the place with you. Like, they put the X-ray on you and then they go into some cabinet and close the door and then press the X-ray button, because they understand how powerful X-rays are. That's high frequency, yeah? And if we're absorbing that as black people, that's gonna make us very ill, yeah? If we can absorb things that other people can't absorb, that's gonna make us very ill. Now that's interesting, because melanin, if melanin can absorb all of this, that means we can be absorbing things from the environment that other people are not absorbing, yeah? So when we're eating foods, we might be absorbing things from that food that other people are not eating, not absorbing, yeah? That's what makes melanin so powerful. So this is how we see purple in the universe, in nature. This is how we see green in nature. But how do we see white? Well, white light, if you got the light from the sun and it shines down on a surface and that surface is not absorbing any of the colors and it reflects back all of them, that's how you see white light. That's how you see the color white. That's the reason why you can't look up at the sun for too long. Because you look up at the sun for too long, all of a sudden you might start seeing white spots and you might get a bit dizzy. Why? Because you're getting all of the light in your eye at the same time. It's too much, it's confusion. It's all at the same time, yeah? So anytime you see a white surface in nature, that's because it's not absorbing any of this and it's reflecting all of it. That's how you see white. So how do you see black in nature? It absorbs everything. Black absorbs all, yes.
Does that mean that white people see things different to the way we see it?
That would make the science make sense, yeah. That would mean that as black people, because remember, melanin's in your ear. If you go by those scientists, melanin's not just in your skin, it's in your organs as well. That means that you could hear things that other people can't hear. You could see things that other people can't see, yeah? You could feel things that other people can't feel. Now, if that is true, think about the statistics that show that a lot of our black men are in mental institutes, yeah? They're crazy. Why are they crazy? He said he saw something that weren't there. Or they say they could hear things. Or they felt something, or like they're crazy. Well, maybe it's just their melanin feeling things that the other people can't feel, yeah? So look at this. Black absorbs all, and when it absorbs all, it creates heat. Keep that in mind as we go on. Black absorbs all, and it creates heat. So if you see something red, it's because the red is being reflected. If you see something white, it's because all of the colors are being reflected, yeah?
Sorry.
Yes.
When you said about, obviously, black people may be absorbing more things, just a thought about 5G.
Yeah.
With those frequencies, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about it. I mean, I don't know, I don't understand, but could it mean it would have a detrimental effect on, our people?
What you need to understand is when it comes to this, the higher the frequency, the more we as black people will absorb it. Yeah. Because again, that's the melanin absorbing it. So remember, it started with 2G, then 3G, then 4G, now 5G. If you go on YouTube and just type in 5G and you see they've done 5G in countries, and when they put up the towers, birds started to drop out of the sky, dead on the floor. Like 5G is high frequency, yeah? And again, us with our melanin, we'll absorb it when other people won't absorb it, yeah? So I always tell people, like, even this is not 5G, but even with this, I don't put this close to me, because women, if you put this by your breasts and that, all of a sudden, breast cancer, or men in your pocket, and then all of a sudden in your 50s, you got prostate cancer or whatever. Like, I try to keep this as far away from me as possible. Like, people know when they call me, that my phone's far away from me. Like, I'm all the way over here, and my phone's on like loudspeaker. I'm like, yeah, well, go on. Yeah, man, I'm there, man, bro. What's going on? Now, speak up. Because I'm not putting that by my head. Do you get me? I'll put that by my head with all of that radiation. In my 50s, 60s, I find out I've got a tumor or something, because these things are going to affect black people more than anyone. And that's because of the melanin and what it's absorbing. And that's not my opinion. That's due to scientists like this guy.
Can I see that, the
No, it's in your notes. It's in your notes. Because all of this is in your notes. All right. So black absorbs all of the light frequencies. All right, here's another scientist. His name is Dr. Richard King. He's written loads of books on melanin. What did he say about melanin? So he said it's the key to freedom. He said there are 4 major broad subsections of the melanin life ocean. Cosmic melanin, so he agreed with the other scientists. Planetary melanin. Plant kingdom melanin, which he calls chlorophyll. Plant kingdom melanin is chlorophyll, and in animal kingdom melanin. He said it's found throughout the entire body of all humans in their skin, eyes, endocrine glands, blood, heart, muscles, lungs, gastrointestinal tract, kidneys, sexual organs, and the brain. So it's not just skin. It's literally all throughout our body, yeah? And then he says melanin in the brain is called neuromelanin. Within the human brainstem, there are 12 centers of black melanin, including the locus coeruleus and the substantia nigra. Substantia nigra, this is the reason why I like to break down words when I'm studying science, because nigra, what does that mean? Black and substantia, substance, substantial, large substance. You've got some large black substance in your brain, and it controls the way you think, and it controls the way you move. I don't know. Like, again, substantia nigra is the scientific term, yeah? And you know how important this is? If it starts to fade, that's when you start to suffer from neurological diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. So if you were to look inside of your brain, this is just a cross-section of your brain. The substantia nigra is in this part here. So we're looking like down the brain through like a bird's eye view. And look, it's full, it's black, and it's full of, this is in your notes, it's full of melanin sites, or melanin skin cell sites, which they call melanocytes, and it's full of dopamine. Should be in everyone, but again, like a lot of this information is hidden. So you won't find this in the scientific book. So if you say, is this for everyone? I'd have to look at a science book that they've created and see that they talk about it, but they don't talk about it. There's like a melanin code of silence in science. No one talks about melanin. Scientists, not out in the public, they'll talk about it amongst each other. They actually have meetings. There's melanin meetings. I don't know if you know this, but there's melanin meetings that the best scientists in the world come to every couple of years. I think it's every couple of decades. And they sit down and they discuss melanin. And at those melanin meetings, no one has melanin. Literally, there's never a black person at those melanin meetings. Yeah? So trying to get this information out of their science books is hard because they don't talk about melanin. So substantia nigra, and it's filled with dopamine. Dopamine is very important because dopamine controls the way, obviously, our pleasure, and it controls the way we move and think as well. Here's the last scientist. So his name is in your notes. His name is Dr. Arturo Solis Herrera. He's a medical surgeon, ophthalmologist, whatever that says, and a pharmacologist. Now he said, this is what, he wrote a book about it. He said, melanin is to the animal kingdom what chlorophyll is to into the plant kingdom. He called melanin a super chlorophyll due to its advantages over regular chlorophyll. Exists in many tissues beside the skin, is present in developing fetus, and there's many types. So all of the scientists, they seem to be agreeing with each other. But check this out. This scientist wrote a book about it called The Human Photosynthesis. The human photosynthesis. What does photosynthesis do? Let's remind ourselves. The chlorophyll captures light energy, and then what does it produce? Oxygen and glucose. So the chlorophyll, photosynthesis, is using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of light, captures the light energy, and produces oxygen and glucose. It uses the glucose to charge itself up, and then it releases the oxygen into the air. This guy wrote a book called Melanin is the Human Photosynthesis. So what is he trying to say? That melanin can do what the plants can do. If that's the case, do you understand that we wouldn't need food? You know what's interesting as well? Like I'm from Jamaica. When I go back to Jamaica and I'm out in the sun, yeah, I don't eat as much. I don't think about food. I literally don't think about food. It's when I go inside, or all of a sudden, or I'm cold, I think about food a lot. This guy's saying melanin is a human photosynthesis. Interesting. All right. So those are the 4 different scientists that talk about melanin. Now let's go over some melanin myths, because there's a lot of myths behind melanin. So let's start with Dr. Sebi, because I don't know if you know, but Dr. Sebi said there's no such thing as melanin. Listen.
We were talking before the camera started rolling. What is melanin and what is carbon? Tell us about those 2 minerals, or whatever they are.
Melanin is not a mineral.
Okay.
Melanin is a word that was used to describe a certain biological function. But that particular identification or category or thing, melanin, is a European identification of what they think activates those neurons in our body that makes us black. But when you break down our body, our biological structure, into what we would have to put it in, which is chemistry, biochemistry, melanin has no place. It's not to be found. What is found in the body that is attributed to melanin is carbon. Carbon not only determines the quality of life in black folks, carbon determines the quality of life in every living plant that exists that is natural. If carbon is absent, there's no life.
So he says it's carbon, yeah? Now again, when I'm listening to people, I don't believe a word they say. I do my own research. But remember what he said about acids and alkali. He said we need an alkaline diet and acids are bad. But then I had to explain to you why he said that, and then it started to make sense. We are acidic, we have an acid structure, so we need an alkaline fuel source. Yeah? So it's not that acids are bad, it's just because we're an acidic structure, we need an alkaline fuel source because opposites attract. Yeah? So when he says that there's no such thing as melanin, if you look at the periodic table of elements, melanin is not on there. So he's actually correct. Melanin is not on there. What is on there though is carbon. Yeah? And if you was to look at the molecular structure of melanin, now before I even show you the molecular structure of melanin, just as a recap, what are the 4 main elements on the periodic table? What's number 1? Oxygen. What's number 2? Hydrogen. What's number 3? Carbon. What's number 4? Nitrogen. Those are the 4 most important elements in life when it comes to us as human beings. Look what melanin is made up of. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. Now you understand why he said it's just carbon, because if you look at the molecular structure of melanin, it's got more carbon than anything else. You see that? It's got more carbon than anything else. So when he says it's just carbon, it literally is just carbon. And here's why what he says makes even more sense, yeah? Because oxygen is a gas. So it doesn't have a color, does it? Nitrogen is a gas. So it doesn't have a color. Hydrogen is a gas. It doesn't have a color. The only thing that has a color is carbon. What color is carbon? Black. So the only thing that we can pertain to us as melanin, giving us our color, is the carbon. Yes, melanin is made of hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen as well, but they have no effect on the color. It's the carbon. So when he says there's no such thing as melanin, it's carbon. Now you understand why he's saying it. It actually is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. But if we're talking about the blackness, we're talking about one thing, and that's carbon. And what's interesting, if you were to look at the molecular structure of carbon, you know, the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons, like the atomic structure of carbon, you'd find that carbon is made up of 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. 6, 6, 6. Where have I heard that before? This is why we need to understand science, because again, the science is the jargon. If we don't understand the jargon, we'll get people telling us we're the devil. That's exactly what they're telling us, but we don't know where that comes from. They're talking about you, yeah? So that's one myth out of the way. When he says there's no such thing, now you understand why he says that, yeah? There's no such thing. Well, there is. He says carbon, yes, it's carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen.